Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is so good to see familiar faces and new folks here today. My name's Maria Marquis. I'm going to be your coach here for today. I'm also joined by a tiny dog, a dachshund named Penne. Puppy's sitting. And so she wanted to come along for the ride today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Maria Marquis. Here at Coda, I focus on customer education, cheerleading, spending time with folks where we can all just improve our skills and share our knowledge. I love hanging out with customers. I love learning from you. I love learning with you. And I love sharing some tips and tricks along the way. So today's webinar is part of our Formula Fitness series. And in Formula Fitness, what we do is we sit down with a formula component and we explore it from a bunch of different dimensions, how we might be able to use it and recycle those patterns in our own docs on a day-to-day basis. Now, I love talking to people, but I also love hearing from people. So my webinars are always interactive, open season, whenever you want to get engaged. So you've got two ways that you can do that. Number one, over there on the right side of your screen, there will be that chat area. A lot of you have already found it, and I'd love to know, go ahead, post a chat for me. Have you ever used VLOOKUP in Excel? Give me a yes or no to let me know you found that chat. Have you used VLOOKUP in Excel? Perfect. Got it. Karina's with a yes. Lovely. Yep, for Pete, nice. Connor as well, great, excellent, really helpful for me to know, because the lookup formula that we're talking about today is kind of the spiritual successor to that, and we'll explore it from a few different dimensions here. So glad to know we got some familiarity, but if VLOOKUP is totally new to you, don't even worry about it. There was a time when I was like, V-waha? So it's okay. Whatever you're bringing today is totally fine and totally welcome. Now, if you have a question here today, I would ask that you please use the Ask a Question button at the bottom of the screen. That way, I don't lose it. You can see what other people are posting, and you can also upvote and downvote questions so I can make sure that I get to exactly what we're looking for. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and dive into Formula Fitness. I'm going to share my screen. I would appreciate it if you could just give me a yes or no so that I know that you can see it. So when you can see my screen, give me some kind of signal in chat like, hey, Maria, I've got it. I can see your screen. Perfect. Thanks, everybody. I just want to make sure we all get through the Stargate into this virtual world here. So let's begin by first just getting clear on two things. So the first is the lookup formula, and the second is the filter formula. Because as I was preparing this, I was talking to a lot of codins about, hey, how do you use lookup in your work? Where does this show up in the docs that you're building? And I found that most people go, I actually don't really use it. I use filter most of the time. And so the thing that we started talking about then internally is, wow, these are actually very related. And we can kind of think about both of them as a package and options, right? If we think about greeting people in human language, I could say hello, or I could say hi. Both greet you, both get the meaning across, but it's a slightly different syntax. And we can think about lookup and filter in the same way. So let's start with lookup. For those of you who are my Excel folks, this should be very familiar. This is inspired by VLOOKUP. The reason why we don't have a V is because inside of Coda, a row is the smallest unit of measure instead of each particular cell like we see in Excel. So we don't need the V for vertical in this case. So when we're looking at the lookup formula in Coda, the first thing we need to find is the table. So which table are we looking up to? Where do we want to search for information? Which column do we want to match on? And then what are we looking to match to, right? So this is the original location. This is what we want to match on. And this is what we want to match to in our new location. So we could think about a tasks table, and then we want to look at the project column, and we want to match the project to whatever project is in this row. So in this case, we are always matching to a table, right? So it's not like we're looking at other queries. We're taking a look at one table and matching it to a new table. So if we think about VLOOKUP, again, my VLOOKUP folks, this should be very similar, right? You've got the value, the table, the column index, and the range lookup. So here with the value is the first column of the table. The table is where we want to retrieve from, column index, range lookup. So if we want to map these together, in this case, we're just getting rid of this column index, and we're sort of mapping a little bit differently, but it should be very similar to what you've seen. Now, when we look at the filter formula, which those of you who've been to my Formula Fitness know that filter is my favorite. If I could only pick one formula, I would totally pick filter. It's the one I use every single day. And it's my favorite. I know we're not supposed to have favorites, but I do. So for filter, this is where we can do, instead of just matching from one table to another, we can actually do multi-dimensional queries. So we can have a little bit more that we're asking for. So we can think about beyond just one table, we can think about other criteria. And how filter looks is you say, hey, what's the table or the list that you want to pull from? And then what are you looking to find? What part of that table is interesting to you? Now, just a reminder here, you don't need to wait for me to stop talking. At any point in time, you can pop a question in or post to chat. This is your time as much as it is mine. And I see we've already got a question, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. So here, do people need to know lookup, or will they be just fine knowing filter only? Connor, you are a person after my own heart. I think, and this is my personal opinion, that you don't need to know lookup if you know filter. That being said, it might be helpful to know it at various points in time, but I've found, and we'll actually be exploring today, how we can do the exact same queries with both options. So it's not necessarily a requirement, but it is a good thing to know just in case you might need it. Yeah, I know, a hot take. I'm like, hey, filter's the best. But lookup has its time and place, but it's not the only thing that you'll ever need. Great question, Connor. Love it. So let's actually explore a little bit about what we're going to do here. So our first exercise, what we want to do is we want to take a look at this table of goals, right? We've got this table of goals, goal 1, goal 2, goal 3. We've got a perfect description of why they're important. And in this case, maybe we want to pull in all of the related milestones for each goal and then view them as a subtable, right? So we've got all the milestones down here. Notice they each have a goal that they're associated with. And maybe we want to pull them into this goal summary table so that we can see them in a subtable view where we open it up into detail. So for example, let me just show you what I mean by subtable view. I could go to the options, and instead of seeing this as a table, I could choose the detail view. And this then shows me the row kind of zoomed in. And what I could do is I could actually see a table of the milestones here if I do this formula correctly. So let's go ahead, switch back to the table view. Also, I will be sharing this doc with all of you at the end of the session, not to worry, that's always going to be coming your way. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this data is connected first, because if we don't know how the data is connected, we're going to be fumbling around a little bit more with our formulas. So here we've got the main table. And then how we are showing the goals here, notice how they have a slightly different visual treatment. They've got this little circle around them, or oblong, a tic-tac, or Mike and Ike shape, right? A chip. And how this is being put together is this is actually what's called a lookup table. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I went to the options up here at the top, and I can see, great, I want to pull from that goal table, but I could choose any table inside of this doc. And now I have a nice little drop-down menu that lets me select from whatever's up here. So for example, I could press enter. Maybe we have goal 4, right? Oh, and I have to actually pull a little emoji from here. Go 4. Have it be nice and fun. We'll make this bold, and we're going to make that red because it's really serious. This is really important, but we should spell that correctly. And then what I could do is I could go ahead and add a row down here. I'm going to open it up. And instead of choosing goal 3, notice goal 4 is now automatically here for me to choose from. So that's one of the nice things about lookup columns is that they can allow you, we'll say milestone 5, they can allow you to have that up to the minute sort of access to your data, right? So now we've got all of this down here and it's all coming together. So that's a lookup column. It pulls from this table up here. This is just basic text. I know that because I see little t, and this is a slider column, which I love. It's just a way of looking at numbers in this case. So now what we want to do is we want to actually pull in all of the milestones that are down here as far as they relate to this. Hey, Lars, welcome. Good to see you, buddy. Nice. So here is the formula. And notice what we see right off the bat. We see that the milestones have that same treatment that the lookup column did down here. That's because we're using the lookup formula. So let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to click on this little F that lets me know, hey, there's a formula at play here. I'm going to click on Edit Formula, and let's notice how we're putting this together. We're saying, hey, look at the milestones answer. That's the table we want to pull from. And in this case, we are looking up to where the goal is equal to whatever this row is. Now we could also, let's go ahead and just get rid of that for now. We could also say lookup, and we could put the table. We could say milestones answer, and we could say goal, and this row, and it's going to give us the exact same thing, right? So here, what we've got is we've got now all of those milestones are in this place. And the nice thing we can do now, because that is a reference, it's pulling from this other location, when we go to the options up here and we say, hey, buddy, I want to go to detail view, notice it's now showing us this in a cool subtable. And we can make all of those updates here. We can add another row. So we could say, hey, now we've got milestone number 56. We can do that here. And now we've got this moving up just like so. So now we've got this cool subtable. And the way that we do that, if you don't see your subtable show up automatically, you can always click the little shish kebab right up here, choose edit layout. And then what you can do is you can say, oh, I want to toggle on table, right? So if it's showing up like this, you can always toggle on the table and now you're ready to rock. Ooh, great question, Karina. We can also do this with insert related. I find that easier. Yeah, so let's actually take a look because you're bringing up something really interesting that I actually learned just yesterday. So what Karina is talking about, if we go up here, we can go and choose when we change the column type. Notice the lookup has this little blue dot next to it. That lets us know, hey, there's treasure buried here. If this were a video game, that would let us know that there is a quest that we could accomplish. And notice up here, Coda's helping us out saying, hey, this might be referenced by the goal down here with the milestones. So Coda's aware of some of these connections. And we can do exactly what Karina's talking about. Instead of using a formula, we can just click on that, boom, it pops it all in. But let's now explore what is in this formula. I'm going to click the F, just like we saw before. Click on Edit Formula. Notice what we see, though. This is not the lookup formula. Coda actually is using the filter formula here instead. Yeah, that's what I said yesterday, Karina. I said, oh, wow, because I was chatting with my colleague, Evan, and he was like, oh, let's do this reference by. It'll automatically make the lookup. We're all good. And then he opened this and he was like, wait a minute. When we looked at this before, this used to be lookup. So back in the day, when Coda had built this particular technology, we had used the lookup formula behind the scenes, but we recently switched to filter. I'm not sure why that decision was made. There's not really a big performance issue, but it was something really interesting that we noticed that then inspired this idea of, these are actually two different ways to accomplish something very similar. Hey, Anna, good to see you. Good morning. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever we are in our wonderful world of ours. It's always good to see new folks. So really interesting call out there. Thanks for helping us find that, Karina. Really appreciate it. I'm going to get rid of this so that y'all can have that for your exercise. And we're just going to make this a basic, change the column type and make it be text. Ooh, good question. If we click on the goals column and choose insert related, will it be filter and not, let's see. So in this case, let's do insert. We actually don't have that ability here. But if we choose this and we go to insert related column, let's check it out. Insert related milestones. In this case, it's actually looking up to itself. So it's a little bit silly. This is actually a good call out, Karina. If we pull from here, this is actually just doing the dot to pull out what's already inside of it. Yeah, so we don't necessarily need that. Yeah, excellent. Because here, if we think about what's happening, right? If we think about pulling the goal, right? If I say, let's just go here, equals goal 1. Let's see if we can pull it out. I have to say goals and then filter. Goal 1. No, let me actually do this a little bit differently. So if I add this here, let's make it a text column. If I say equals goal, oh Lord, goal, there we go. I don't actually need to do anything else here because this is already the row of goal 1, milestone 1, score 3, that's going to move as 1. So I don't necessarily need to do insert related here because it's already part of this. Yeah. So I can just pull out whatever I want. So I could say key result, right? I can pull out all the details because, again, for those of you who are new to Coda formulas, the most important thing to remember is that the row is the smallest unit of measure. The cells don't operate by themselves. They always operate as a row, which means when we have a lookup, that's why if I hover over it, notice I can see everything that's associated with it because it's pulling that entire row through. Excellent. All right, so let's go ahead and close that up. Let's take a look at exercise number 2. So here, we've already kind of gotten this as a little bit of a heads up. It's the exact same prompt, but in this case, instead of using the lookup formula, we want to use the filter formula. So let's see how this is different. It's the exact same data set. It's the exact same structure. So now we're just going to use filter to accomplish the same thing. So notice it looks exactly the same as the lookup solution that we saw before. The same outline that lets us know we pull off everything else here, right? We can see all the things. And it's all the same connection. If I were to switch this over to be a detail view, notice it still shows me that subtable. So we're getting the exact same result. We're just using a slightly different formula approach. So let's go ahead and open it up. So here, the structure of filter is table, what part of the table you want, and then what might you want to do with it. So here, what we're saying is, hey, Coda, look at the milestones exercise 2. Then filter where the goal is equal to this row. So we're saying, hey, goal in this row, that's the milestones I'm interested in. Yeah. So what we've done here is notice that it's a very similar setup, right? Lookup does a similar thing where it's matching, right? We say, this is the thing I want to match. Here, we're just saying, I want these to be equal. But the other thing that I could do here is I could add more things to my filter formula. So I could say, I want the goal is equal to this row, and maybe I want the score to be less than 2, right? And now I can go ahead and see that it changes a little bit differently, or I did greater than there. This is why I always needed to check my work in math. So maybe I want to do less than 2. Notice none of the things are being pulled in, but if I were to reduce these, notice how they all of a sudden show up. So filter, again, allows me to do that multi-dimensional query, right? It's not just a single match. I can actually add a few more elements to my phrase. So a slightly different approach, but we get that same exact result. So again, there's a time and a place for everything. And to Connor's question, do I need to know lookup at all? It's helpful to know, but it's not necessarily a requirement because you could go about it a slightly different way. Always an option. And if that's something I could share with all of you, when we think about Coda formulas and Coda doc creation, there's not one right way to do anything. Right? There are a bunch of different ways, and it's all about your own creativity and deciding kind of what works best for you, right? My colleague, Evan, loves the lookup formula, uses it all the time because that's part of what he likes to do in his particular style. I know that I'm in a doc that Evan made if there's lookup formulas and if there's emoji, right? that is a signal that Evan has been here. For me, if you know that it's going to be something that's got a lot of filters, and I really like to do a lot of color in my docs and a lot of table work. So it really is like your own creativity. And I encourage you to think about it, not like, am I getting it right? But is this solving my problem? And do I like it, right? This is my style. Yeah. All right. Got a question here. Ooh, great question, John. Clicking the F should just open the formula window so as not to have to click again. That's actually a really good idea, John. And one thing that I'm very excited about when we think about the formula builder, and I know this has actually been a request from y'all, is if we press equals and we have the formula here, there's this new option to expand the editor. So now you've got this full, big, beautiful formula area. So you've actually got a ton of space to be able to work. And I love it. And I know this is something we've talked about in past formula fitness sessions. So I hope this helps. And I think that idea of like a shortcut key might be really cool. And let's actually just check something out. For those of you who are keyboard shortcut folks, I want to check something. We should have a shortcut to keyboard shortcuts. Not here, but maybe if we do / keyboard shortcuts, there we go. And open it up. Let's actually see if there's any bit of a open up the formula option. Let's just check it out. Not yet, but that's a really great feature request. I really like that a lot. I'm going to share that with our product managers. Cool. All right. I'm not a keyboard first person myself, but those keyboard shortcuts I know are really, really helpful for folks who like to really use that keyboard. I love a mouse. It's me. I know it's not as efficient, but I like it. And I do love the slash. So for those of you who might be new to Coda, anytime you type slash, it's a great way if you're looking for something, you can go, all right, I want to add emoji, or I want to post a YouTube video, or I want to do a voting table. It's a way to get at everything that's inside. And if you're more of a visual person or a mouse person, you can always pop up here to explore, and this will show you everything we've got. You can use that same search up here, right? Like I want to search for the voting table, or I want to search for how to do a YouTube, or I want to search for keyboard shortcuts. Yeah. So a really helpful way for us to be able to navigate on our own terms. So now let's take a look at the next most frequent way that we see lookup being used. And Karina, this actually reminds me of your question from last Formula Fitness. So we'll definitely, hopefully this will help out. So in this case, now maybe we don't want to see all of the related milestones, right? Like we don't want to see them all right up here, right? That's too much. But what we do want to do is create a select list that only has the milestones related to whatever goal is in the row. Right? So goal 1 has milestone 1 and 2. And maybe here what we're doing is we're posting updates. And we don't want to see all of the milestones for the entire table. We only want to see the milestones for the goal that's associated. So we can put an update and save ourselves some time. So let's go ahead and take a look how we can do this using lookup. So here we go to this, choose our select list options. Notice instead of just typing in different options to select, we've actually toggled on the formula option here and given ourselves a handy little formula. Very straightforward using lookup. We say, hey, Coda, look at the milestones 2 answer table, find the goal, and I want it to match whatever goal is in this row. And we can do this because of that lookup formula, right? That they are connected to each other. They're the same data type in this case. So now if I go to goal 1, notice we got 1 and 2. If I go to goal 2, 3 and 4. And if I go to goal 3, only milestone 5 is there. But again, just like before, if I were to add another milestone here, right? Like milestone number 6, but we should, of course, spell that correctly. Milestone. And go ahead and give that there. Now we could go ahead and see we now have both of those. So because of lookup, we're connecting these two, which allows us to kind of operate across both of them in a more effective way. Now, if you are ahead of me, you'll know that the next exercise is the exact same prompt, but here we want to use filter instead. So let's see how we've done it here. We go to the answer, we go to our milestone, we go to the top right up here, we choose select list options, and we open this up. Notice we have a very similar setup here, except we put the table first outside of the filter phrase. So we say, hey, look at milestones exercise 4 table, filter wherever the goal is equal to this row. And just like before, we could add more queries and the score is less than 3, right? We can do all of that and see exactly what we need here. So goal 2 doesn't have that, right? So we can, I made the same exact mistake as before. Why does my brain do that? So we can have all kinds of other phrases in here as well. But notice how these two things are accomplishing the exact same result, but in a slightly different way. Awesome. All right. So those are the primary ways that we see lookup being used. But folks who might have used lookup, or maybe who have been using VLOOKUP in Excel, I'd love to open up the rest of our time here together with other questions you have, right? How might I do that in Coda? Or any Coda-related questions are totally fair game. Maybe you have questions about some of our recent releases. I want to make sure we have plenty of time for that. So again, the time is yours. Go ahead, post to ask a question. Happy to answer anything that's on your mind. Otherwise, I hope that you found a couple things that you can start to add to your toolbox. And remember that it's all about your own creativity, your own style, and solving the problem for you, which can happen in any number of ways. All right, everybody, go ahead, let me know what questions you have. Otherwise, take care. It's a little bit of a faster one today, but excited to share any Coda questions that you have. All right, do you need to first relate tables in some way before you can look things up? Good question. So Karina, when we're thinking about the lookup formula, the key is that we need to be mindful of our data types. So what I mean by data types is in Coda, let's go ahead and open up an example. we think about all of the different data types slightly different ways. So for example, this is text. So this would be different than if I were to reference milestone elsewhere, because that would be a reference. This is a number, which would be different than me typing the number 3 here, because this is, it actually detected it, so it changed it. But I could go ahead and adjust my text here. So now it's just text, which is different than this number 3. So you just want to make sure that since lookup is matching table information together, that you're matching the same data types. Yeah, great question, Karina. Love it. All right, what do you use the new template function for yourself? Hey, Lars, I love that this question is coming up for you. So what Lars is referencing is this idea that now we have the ability to create our own templates. So if I were to go to the Explore panel and templates, this is going to show me all of the templates that Coda has made, but here are all of the templates that we have here at Coda that we've done internally. So we can create these new mini templates or new starter doc templates so that we can save some time. So what I use the templates for is Formula Fitness, right? All of our Formula Fitness webinars have the exact same doc structure. What is it? The exercise, your answer, and then reveal the answer. So I've actually created a template that allows me to create these exercises in a one-off way. That's actually a new doc template so that I can actually pull data sets as well. So we can use those here. We also use it for any of our launches. So if we're going to be planning a launch, we do that. And then I also use it for I don't use it for this, but Lars, you just had a question about cool examples from the Coda team. Our product manager, Steve Wan, he works on a team that works with a lot of data. And so they actually have a template that allows them with a calculation to figure out if something that they've done is statistically significant, and then has conditional formatting that shows kind of how significant it is, which is really neat. And then we also use it for our meetings and also for our one-on-ones. So for any new hire that comes in, we actually have a one-on-one template that's right there, and it's all pinned to the top of our workspace, which is really, really great. Yeah, great question. What other questions do you have? Again, anything Coda related is fair game. So if you have a question about what we talked about today, the lookup or the filter formula and how they connect, you can go ahead and post that here, but also anything Coda, just let me know. Otherwise, I wish you a wonderful rest of your week, great rest of your day. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you. If you've got what you need, I wish you well. If you want more, stay and let me know. All right. Sure. Oh, yeah. Can we have the link, please? You got it. I promised it, and I totally forgot to share it with you. Let me go ahead and copy that. And there you go. Also, if you are interested in more Coda Formula Fitness, definitely bookmark our coda.io/webinars page. This has all of our upcoming webinars. One that I'm really excited about, which is going to be on May 17th, is the In Case You Missed It quarterly roundup. I'm going to sit down with our product manager, Angad, and then our product marketing manager, Andrew, and we're going to talk about all the things small that we've launched this year to date by May, which is about 40 items. So we're going to do a quick roundup of all the things in case you missed it. Great time to ask questions about our roadmap, about how things work. Definitely save the date on that one. But for Formula Fitness, you can go to this little Formula Fitness tab, and then this is going to show all of the Formula Fitness things that we've done. You can also upvote ones that you would like to learn more about. And you can go ahead and watch the webinar and also open the doc with the exercises so you can practice yourselves. So definitely check that out. I will be coming in here for lookup and adding it right here today. So all of that should be available shortly. All right, good question. How is the progress on multiple columns coming along? Any ETA on that yet? So the progress is going along, but the interesting thing about the multiple columns progress is it actually requires us to completely rewrite our editing code, which, as you can probably imagine, is robust, right? It's years of code, and it's also really reimagining how it all comes together. So it's actually been about 9 months of work on allowing this to happen to date. So it's in those final stages. It's probably going to be in the summertime. Yeah, great question. Yeah, but it's been really interesting seeing how what seems like a very small update, right? Like, just change the columns up. It actually has been this huge undertaking of like revisiting the code, reimagining it, putting it all together, remixing it, testing, changing things up. But the cool thing that's coming along for the ride with multiple columns is because it's doing a full rewrite of our editor code, it actually is allowing our team to address a lot of performance along the way. So it should hopefully be contributing to performance as well as this new availability. But I saw an internal demo of kind of the basic of where it's at right now. It's going to be really, really great and really exciting. So definitely, I'm looking forward to it too, Pete. Yeah, great question. What else is on your minds, everybody? Anything else that you're interested in? Let me know. I can also answer questions about my mom's dog who's sitting on my lap right now, if anyone's curious about that. I know inquiring minds want to know. Excellent. All right, well, I'll hang out here for as long as you need me. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day. It's been a pleasure, everybody. Bye, Karina. Have a good one. So good to see you. Awesome. All right. It seems like our questions have come to an end. So I'll go ahead and close out for today. Have a great one, everybody. I'll see you next time. Next week, we are talking about new hire onboarding and how to build a Coda system for that. So I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.